Welcome to the end of the world, survivors. You're tuned in to the last voice on the airwaves, Harper, or as I've come to call myself, DJ Clueless, broadcasting from an abandoned radio station that somehow still hums with life. Don't ask how, don't ask why. All I know is the dead roam outside and we're still here for now. This is where we fight back. I'll be your guide through the madness, sharing survival tips, whispers of safe havens, and the occasional existential crisis. Because let's face it, when the world's gone dark and the dead outnumber the living, the only real question is, what's next? Stick around if you're still alive. Welcome to Zombie Apocalypse Survivor Radio. This is your DJ, Harper, also known as DJ Clueless, although I am less clueless than I was a week ago. And I have good news today. I know. 2 recordings in a row where I have good news. I'm surprised as well. But the good news is I'm not alone anymore. I have some people who decided to stay. And, it's not a huge group. It's not like 20 people came and decided to stay. There are 3 people and they were traveling together. And I don't know if they knew each other before or not. They all seem very closely bonded, and I haven't asked a lot of questions yet. And the main reason I haven't asked a lot of questions is I'm so thrilled to have them here, and they have been essential in getting so many things done. It is easier to dig a latrine if you have 4 people instead of 1. We now have 3 of them, 3 latrines. For 4 people. And we'll have a 4th one probably by the end of the week. But they also have gone through the vocational building. Where I'm located, I am basically a little radio station that's about 2 stories. Well, it has 2 floors. It looks like it's 3 or 4 stories from the outside, but the floors are just very tall. It has very high ceilings. There's a lot of room inside. But from the outside, it looks like somebody... Have you ever played in a sandbox like when you were a kid and you would have these molds you would put sand in? Like you'd take the bucket, you'd fill it with sand, you'd put it upside down and you have a building. Imagine a square one of those that somebody just filled with cement and turned upside down. And that is what this building looks like. It just looks like a cement square that has a pretty gorgeous roof, and roof access from the outside. So it's very nondescript. It's not a pretty building. And honestly, I'm kind of surprised given the plainness of the building that it hasn't been tagged. Graffiti would be just natural for a building like this. Although Violet is planning on making a mural. So, I have let her know where the hardware store is and a bunch of other things. She is, I would say, late teens, early 20s, and very artistic. She sits down and doodles, and, it's something you could hang up in a museum. It's amazing. Violet is extremely talented and also freaking strong as all get out. She was able to dig for longer than any of us. I don't know if that's youth. I'm not that old, but my body did start creaking a little bit with the digging. Or just, she's athletic, or you never know. People tend to get in shape when they're fleeing zombies. Anyway, so she is talking about making a mural. Needless to say, when they arrived, they took out the 5 zombies that were guarding me that day, and no zombies have shown back up, which is interesting and a little unnerving. These zombies kept me penned in for so long that I kind of lost my mind a few times. But, some people show up and they're like, too much work. I don't get it. I need to quit trying to understand what zombies are thinking, because they aren't. Their behavior is very, very odd. Anyway, so they arrived. They had heard about me from Liam, and they didn't go into reasons why, but they didn't seem to be comfortable in Liam's little enclave. And so Liam sent them to me. And now that I'm getting to know them a little bit better, I think when I was talking to Liam, the leader of his community is apparently, I don't want to use the word strict or heavy-handed, but has a very black and white way of looking at things. And I can see maybe not feeling comfortable with somebody else's black and white view of the world. But they said, they straight up told me, they asked Liam, okay, are there any women run enclaves? And it's like, well, I mean, I guess this one's woman run and there's nobody else here but me. I'm not exactly in charge. I'm just actively trying not to die. So I guess that works. But you know, now that they're here, it's very definitely woman run. I hate to break it to you folks, but I am not in charge anymore. I am not. I don't think I ever was. Like I said, I was basically just surviving and white knuckling it. But the other two women, other than Violet, Priya, who is amazingly gorgeous, you know, just can't even go into it. Just probably the prettiest person I've ever met in real life. Just stunning. And doesn't seem to be aware of it. Like she dug latrines with the rest of us, you know. There was no pretty person privilege even as a thought in her head. She's very down to earth and very personable and has a clear idea of what we should do and how we should do it, which I really appreciate because, as you've probably recognized from the recordings I've been leaving, I've been sort of ping-ponging around to various things. I was tested once for ADHD. They said I don't have it, but I have a lot of similarities. So maybe the test was wrong. I don't know. But I've been kind of just doing things either on a triage level, like, you know, what needs to be done right now? Okay. And half-heartedly planning for the future. But like, first of all, let's back up because I should talk about how they arrived. My first, clue that there were people around, I was inside reading, and I heard gunshots outside. So I go up to the roof to find out what's going on because the roof has very good visibility and usually gunshots aren't aiming up high. At least so far. And when I got up there, I didn't see anybody. Somebody from far away took out my 5-watch zombies. And so I just sat on the roof and kind of waited. And about 5 or 10 minutes later, horses showed up with like an actual wagon and like people were in it. Like I've been talking a lot about my makeshift little bicycle with a little basket on it. And this felt to me very much like it was maybe put together themselves, you know. But yeah, 4 horses, and they pulled up with this huge wagon trailer thing. You know, like it had rubber wheels, you know, like a regular trailer from back in the world would, but it was only like the wheels and the frame that were metal. The rest they had kind of, I don't know, made out of really lightweight like cardboard and some lightweight plywood, you know, like the effort to keep stuff in, but it's not like they were transporting stuff that would roll around real heavy. So but Priya has plans on making one that's better. This was just to get them here, which apparently they did without much problem. Priya was the sniper that took out the 5 zombies. Apparently she went up in one of the houses that I had marked clear to the 2nd floor, and then climbed out the window and climbed a tree. And from there took the zombies out. And she said it was 2 or 3 blocks away. So I'm impressed. As you know, I can shoot from the roof to the ground, but I would not call myself a sniper. So I'm very impressed that Priya just has so many skills that I'm in awe. I'm in awe. I want her to be my best friend. I want all of them too. I'm just so relieved to have people. And then Quintessa, who goes by Queenie, is the third woman. And I'm pretty sure that Quintessa and Priya knew each other before. But again, I haven't had a lot of time to ask because they hit the ground running. They knew exactly what they wanted to do. And I've just been sort of conscripted into being one of the people they boss around. And I am fine with it. We have latrines. We have several showers now, not just the makeshift camper one I was using. You know, the ones that you take camping where you fill it with water and you put it someplace out in the sun, and so that gets it warm and then you shower. That's what I've been using. But they, in their little wagon, had all kinds of stuff. But they also had very detailed plans for what we would need. So, you know, they took the horses one day and went to, I think it was either Rural King or Lowe's, and got a bunch of rain barrels. And, you know, they have taken my water storage to the next level, basically. But pretty much from the moment we wake up until we go to bed, we have just been digging holes for the latrines, setting up showers and shower stalls that have a modicum of privacy. And when they picked up the rain barrels, they also picked up some barbed wire, And when they strung it up around basically the entirety of the parking lot my building is in and the parking lot of the vocational building. So we have like this pretty big area where there's just one piece of barbed wire going around all of it. And it took all of us all day to do this. So barbed wire does not like you, and it doesn't want to cooperate with you. It was, I think, made to just injure you. So it was not a fun day, but Queenie and Priya kept making jokes, none of which I remember right now to tell you, unfortunately. I know I'm the worst person to be doing this because I don't remember stuff so much. But they made jokes the whole time. And then a little while later, we had everything up, and they're calling it a fence, but it is one strip of barbed wire just around the perimeter. And I'm like, okay, this isn't a fence. This is just a garrote. I mean, this is just a clothesline the zombies, I guess. And I was told very gently that this is just the first step in a much longer process. And then Queenie laid out for me exactly how we're going to build this fence and everything. She's like, but just having that up right off the bat made them feel better, because it's very secure. We all but welded this stuff to the buildings as we wrapped it around, you know, the places in the parking lot that we wanted to keep the zombies out of. So, you know, but it's not like, this will work if we have 10 to 40 zombies. It will fail if we have 40 or more zombies. And Priya and Queenie know that, and they plan on basically just going back to I think it was Rural King, maybe it was Home Depot, I don't know, hardware store. I stayed back and get more stuff to build a better fence. This is just like step one. So, and here's hoping that no humans hurt themselves walking across the parking lot. But honestly, other than Liam and some of the travelers I told you about in my last recording, these are the first people I've actually seen. And if somebody is walking or riding a bike, it will be very apparent. Violet went by after we were all done, and spray painted all of it yellow, like a big bright yellow humans aren't going to miss. And she did that because I walked into it twice. And I knew it was there. I'm a little absent-minded and klutzy. And I was, I had like 4 or 5 different things I was getting ready to do. And so I just kind of turned to go do it and walked into it. Luckily, it hits me more towards the head than it does the neck. So I basically pinged right off of it and it was fine. But Violet was like, okay, I think we have a very vivid example of what happens if we don't paint it bright colors. And so she spray painted it yellow, and then when she ran out of yellow spray paint, the rest of it's hot pink. So the parts that are wrapped around the building, she didn't bother. She's like, if somebody walks into it when it's flat against the building, they have bigger problems than our barbed wire, and she's not wrong. She is already sketching different murals to paint on the side of the radio building that incorporate the barbed wire, because like 2 sides of it have the barbed wire around it. And then the vocational building has barbed wire around it. And not like the entirety. Like, this is a big building, but like the entranceway towards us, we barbed wire around that and secured it in 1,000 different ways. Queenie really wanted to make sure that nothing slipped, and so I don't know that I've ever done anything like this, but she knew what she was doing. She knew what she was doing, or at least I'm assuming so. She said it all with confidence, and I bought it, so I think she knows what she's doing. Sometimes it's the blind leading the blind. What are you going to do? Our next project, Queenie and Priya are very convinced that we will be having new visitors. Well, I say visitors, new people coming to stay probably in a few weeks to a month. And they want to have something set up where we can strip search people so we're not letting the bitten in. And she wants to do it in such a way that the person who is watching the strip search that is checking will be similar gender, if possible. She said, if anybody who's non-binary comes in, we will ask them which gender they prefer, unless we happen to have somebody who's already non-binary living with us at that point. But their gender of preference. But if somebody is bitten, once they are exposed as being bitten, they tend to go full zombie. So you want it to be like, if we could do it like, those old, the old TV shows where you have like the one-way glass and one person's behind it and somebody else is in a completely different room. Like, if we could do that, that would be cool. But as plentiful as I have found this little town, and as plentiful as the Rural King or Home Depot or Lowe's or whatever the heck it is, has been, I think one-way glass is going to be a real hard thing to find. But what Priya was saying, she had graph paper and she kind of sketched it out for me. It would be very, very similar, but there would be a barrier in between the person doing the, hey, let's check and see if you're a zombie, and the person who may or may not have been bitten. She wants there to be some sort of wall to where it would take the zombie a little bit, a few seconds, maybe a minute, to get to the person who is checking to see if they're bitten. So that would be enough time for that person to defend themselves, basically. And so, yeah. I would have thought that a lot of the hammering and noise that we have been doing would attract zombies, but really, I haven't seen any since the last 5 were killed by Priya. God bless you, Priya. And Queenie says that once we have a larger population, we're going to be setting up a watch and be taking turns for that. She also said that watch shifts shouldn't be more than 2 hours because people's brains go to sleep after a while, which I thought was pretty interesting. But, we have been doing so much. They've been transporting so much. We've completely moved how we store our water and our food, mainly so they have places to sleep. Priya and Queenie sleep in one room. Violet sleeps in the other, and we've moved the food over to the vocational building, which actually has quite a few closets and things. I say closets and things, like, of course they have closets, but you know what I mean, like pantry type closets and things. I'm sorry. I'm tired. I didn't spend today digging, but we carted almost all of the canned goods from one place to another, and I had enough stuff here that it took all day to clear out those 2 rooms with all 4 of us doing it. And it took me months to fill those rooms. The coffee was already there and a lot of other stuff was already there, but the majority of like the canned goods and other types of foods that I have in there, no, that was me bringing over from the grocery store. Well, I told you about that. That took a lot of time, a lot of time and effort. I wish I had the horses in the wagon. Where I'm located is very rural, so the horses are not far away. The parking lot basically ends and a large field begins. A field that nobody has been trimming or cutting or anything like that, and the horses seem to really like it. Like, they don't romp around in it because a lot of the weeds and everything are, as tall as I am, maybe half as tall as I am. I'm 5'3", so, the horses don't wander too deeply in there, but we basically smashed down a good little spot for them to kind of hang out in. And at night, we put them in the vocational building. It is not ideal. It is not ideal, but Priya and Queenie have a plan for that too. They want to put up a barn, and I don't know. I've never done a barn raising, and I'm kind of tired, y'all. I don't know if I can put up a barn, but they said that that's not the first thing we're gonna do. And I told them, we have predators at night. We have all kinds of things at night. They need to be inside someplace, which is why they're in. And they knew that. Like, I'm not telling them anything they didn't know. But, like, there are coyotes. There are other wild animals that kind of show up and sometimes eat the dead that I leave for them. Also, I like them because they are respectful of the vultures. Like, I told them how the vultures had been, they listened to all the recordings. And then I kind of told them that the vultures were sort of my friends. And so they have put aside a place in the field, like one place for the horses to graze. And then there's another place a little ways off, where they have decided that will be where we dump dead bodies. If we kill a zombie, we will drag it there. Or, have the horses help us drag it there. Like when they killed all 5, they just, they emptied the wagon, loaded the wagon up with those 5, and then drove it into the field, dumped the bodies, drove it back. And I kind of like having a designated spot for that. That way the vultures still get the food they want, and I still get to enjoy the vultures. It was very nice of them to do that. And when I was gushing about that, Priya was like, the dead have to go somewhere, and acted like I was being a little over the top. So I think they're used to being with each other, and I am used to being alone. And so I'm just grateful they're around. So everything they do feels amazing and wondrous to me, because I was really done being alone. I was really, really done being alone. And I don't mind people being bossy to me if they know what they're doing and I don't. And that is absolutely the situation that I'm here in. I knew a lot of what I was doing. They were very happy with how much water I had. They were very happy with my supplies. I told them that I hadn't raided any of the big supermarkets, mainly because they, it takes me a while to bike to them. But I let them know the supplies that were in all of the houses nearby. And once we get a lot of different things done, they're going to be, if we get more people, or when we have things a little more built up, we will go and raid the houses for all of their supplies. And the field still has some of the barbed wire. They found a tree out in the field, so it's kind of like a big barbed wire square. But there's this big tree in the field that they wrap the barbed wire around, then around my building, and then to the entrance area of the vocational building, because they said, they're comfortable with the horses just sort of hanging out there during the day when they aren't, being ridden or whatever. But they would prefer the barbed wire kind of keep the horses from wandering off. And it's painted such a bright color, the horses don't miss it at all. They stay clear. I asked them if they were going to put fencing all the way out in the field and everything, and they said no. They said no, but once we are to the point where we have a barn, it won't be necessary, and they will have fencing doing other things. This is just a temporary measure. And I was like, wow, we spent all day on a temporary measure? But, I guess we got to be safe for now. But this is what I mean when it's just nice to have other people who kind of know what they're doing. Queenie was apparently in the military. I want to say Army. It was not Air Force or Navy. So I'm left with, Army or Marines, and I'm pretty sure it was Army. But I haven't had a lot of time to just sit down and talk to them. Because, we're always doing something and always carting stuff. And none of the people I've run across want to talk about the world. They want to talk about what's going on right now. They don't want to talk about who they were. And I respect that. I'm not going to push anybody to share who they were before, how they have these skill sets, anything like that. I'm not going to do that. These women are nice. They are helpful. They had fresh vegetables. Granted, it was mostly like squashes and zucchinis, but I don't care. I've been eating out of cans for like 9 months, a while. You guys know how I am with time. So I was so happy to see a vegetable. Their presence enriches my life a lot, and I am so glad that you're here. And I'm really glad that I ran into Liam. I wish I had ran into him when I was a little bit more sane and a little less, crazy and wild-eyed, but that doesn't seem to have bothered him enough to not tell people about this place. They want me to keep making recordings and talking about things and updating people. They actually said that a lot of people at Liam's compound were listening and, rooting for me, I guess. So thank you. Hey, Liam's compound, thanks for rooting for me. I appreciate that so much. And thanks for sending me these 3. I appreciate that so much. Liam has been a lifesaver in a myriad of ways. So they said that eventually they would like to allow people to know the exact location of where we are and to draw people in, but that we need to build things in such a way that when people come, we actually have something to offer. And I don't know about you, but each of these rooms, we could sleep 4 or 5 people in each of these rooms. It's pretty comfortable. I like having my own room, and I'm not, trying to give it up or anything. But one of the projects that we have in the future, after we finish building some fencing that's, a little less of a garage and more of a fence, one of the things that we're going to be doing is figuring out which parts of the vocational college we want to turn into housing. And if we would rather find some of the houses nearby and use those. The vocational college also has solar panels. One of the things that the college actually did was teach how to install solar panels. So, and I know that because I've gone through the college and I've looked through their books, and they have one where they have one pamphlet where they're just advertising that and they're showing off the solar panels. And so basically the entire roof of that building is solar panels that were built by the vocational students. And they're super proud of those. And they should be. So it has some power, not a lot. There's a lot of stuff that you're not going to be able to do in the vocational college, but you'll have lights and heat and, that type of thing. You'll be able to survive there without it being completely unpleasant. But they want us to get it fixed up a bit first. And I think the way Priya said is, let's get all the blood out of the carpet before we let people know exactly where we are. And I kind of agree with that. But they also said if somebody shows up and wants to stay, they're not going to kick them out as long as, they're willing to help improve the place. And, I think anybody looking for a place to stay would probably be okay putting in a little bit of time and effort, making the place they're staying more secure and, better. So yeah. That is my good news. That is my good news. Oh, and Priya and Queenie actually know what day it is. And we are just 1 week before American Thanksgiving. Well, the United States of America Thanksgiving. And so a lot of the squash and stuff they have, we will be cooking up for that. And they have a lot of different ideas about how we can do that, and I'm pretty excited about that. I think it's gonna be fun. Violet found the kitchen. Like, apparently there's like a cafeteria that has a full kitchen and everything at the vocational college, and so that is where we are going to be making this feast, and I'm really excited about it. So, as you all know, I'm going to end telling you to survive and telling you that things will get better. People may show up. Opportunities may show up. You never know when you're going to get a windfall or when things are going to get a little bit easier. So, as I say at the end of every single one of these, survive, survive, survive. I know it's hard, and I know we don't always want to, but it's worth it. All right, y'all. Bye. This is Harper signing off for now. Remember, the world's still turning even if it feels like we're standing still. Survive, adapt, endure. And when the dust settles, we will rise again. We will rebuild from the ashes. Until then, keep moving, keep fighting, and whatever you do, survive.